Chris, I want to return to your story about your mom's last illness and finding within that experience something that ended up being of great value to your children and to your school. I think that there's something about people operating at those stakes. When it's those stakes, it just comes through the whole culture of the place. And there's a groundedness, right? There's a seriousness. We're going to be at each other's backs, and things are incredibly difficult right now, but we'll find a way. And, ALS is really at the heart of how Charter Folk came about in the first place. A very important friend of mine, a person who I learned more about charter schools than anybody else in my career when I was back at High Tech High. His name is Brian Bennett. He was unfortunately suffering from ALS, the kind that takes the voice first. And also, Brian was among the most articulate people I'd ever met in my entire life. And one of the last gestures that he was able to do professionally was to serve as an endorser for me as I applied to the California Charter School Association. And one Tuesday morning, they called me and they told me that I had been chosen. And Brian was near the end then, right? I called my wife and I shut off my phone. And I drove over to Brian Bennett's house and I found him. And I made a promise to him that for however long I would be within this role, I would make sure that the voice of Brian Bennett for what shall be forever heard. The amazing thing is that in the context of doing my work for charter schools, I've just come in contact with so many people whose voices need to be heard. And what I've realized is the promise that I brought to Brian is the promise that I should bring to as many charter school people as I can possibly find. Extraordinary people like Linda Brown, but extraordinary people like you, Legra, extraordinary people like you, Chris. You have my promise. I will always be out there trying to make sure that your stories are better appreciated. And please bring me others, because I know how many there are within this extraordinary movement of ours. So to all of you, I thank you for being a part of this oxygen bar. I look forward to staying in contact. I hope at Charter Folk that we can find a way to make your stories even more understood and more elevated in the months and the years ahead. Thank you all.